Good morning. Namaste to each of you. Thank you for joining me this morning to honor your mind and your body and your spirit. Let's begin this morning by sitting on in a comfortable position on a cushion or a block, blanket, something that allows your spine and the back of your neck to sit nice and long and tall, opening up your chest and opening up your diaphragm and opening up your heart. Let's gently close our eyes and soften our thoughts. Soften our eyes. Soften our shoulders. And soften our heart. Observe your breath as it is, soft and gentle, breathing life into you with each inhale and relaxation with each exhale. Feel the grace of being present, returning to that awareness again and again. You may open your eyes now. For this morning's intention, you may think of a positive word or phrase to have with you on your mat, or perhaps carry with you throughout the day. This morning's intention I'd like to talk about is asanas. So the third limb of the 8 limbs of yoga is about asanas. Most of us were introduced to yoga by taking a yoga class where we wiggled into and out of poses. And those poses are asanas. And that's the Sanskrit word for it. So we learned TadASANA, which is mountain pose. And each of these, the suffix is asana. So TadASANA, mountain pose. UttanASANA, forward fold. And VirabhadrASANA, warrior. Asana is actually Sanskrit for seated, and the original asana was developed for meditation so the yogi could be comfortable and being seated within oneself. An asana practice would be done before meditation to prepare the mind and body to be still for a long time, or it would be done after to relieve the body from stiffness. So fast forwarding hundreds, if not thousands of years, we have extracted the asanas out of the 8 limbs of yoga and consider it a standalone form of exercise. An asana practice is now about keeping us mobile by inviting poses into our bodies that add to our flexibility, to our strength, and to balance. But let's look at the placement of asanas on the 8 limbs of yoga. It's the third limb behind the first 2 limbs, yama being the first and niyama being the second. Niyamas are the guidelines on how to interact with the world, and the niyamas is guidelines on how to interact with yourself. So, for example, a yama, one of the 5 yamas, is kindness and non-excess. Excellent principles to bring to your asana, your poses practice. And then niyamas, there's two of the five are self-discipline and self-study. So these are great guidelines for our asana practice. We want to let the pose serve us, not us serve the pose. And another way of putting that is this is not Simon Says. This is about discovering yourself and the how the balance and flexibility and strength work within your body. So for the pranayama, the breathing technique this morning, we're going to do the Ujjai breath, and we're going to do that while we're doing the asana practice. And just as a reminder, the Ujjai breath is kind of that, it's also known as the ocean breath. It's the one that creates that sound in the back of your throat. When you deep breathe in, you're kind of finding that sound in the back of your throat, right in your nasal tract, and then kind of like a Darth Vader breathing. And it quiets the mind and increases the oxygen and slows the flow of breathing down. So it's a great breathing technique to incorporate into your asana practice. I call it the soundtrack of yoga. So let's go to the mat. We won't have a meditation this morning, but we'll go to the mat and we'll start that practice, the asana practice. So before we actually begin the practice, there are 84 traditional asana poses, and there's many variations or modifications to those poses. And I have a one yoga app called uh, Yoga Studio. I have to kind of look at what it is. I know where it is on my iPad. And they kind of break the poses, the asanas, down into several categories. The first one is the focus. And the focus for that asana is either flexibility, strength, balance, or even restorative. So there's times where you're working out and then you need to rest to really gain the benefits of that pose. And then another category is types. So you have a seated pose, you have standing poses, you have reclining poses, and they can be on your back or prone on your stomach. And within those types, the seated, the standing, and the reclining, you could have twists or bends or inversions. And so an inversion is when your heart is above your head, or looking at it, your head's below your heart. So downward dog is a classic inversion. Shoulder stand, headstands, ones we don't do here, certainly not the headstand. Those are all inversions. And those are actually good for you if your blood pressure's fine. They help to clean out the lymphatic system. And then the last category is ability. So we have beginner poses, or what's considered beginner poses, intermediate poses, advanced poses, and then master poses. And master, don't get into, those are like super duper pretzel twists that I don't go there. But I personally believe any of the beginner and intermediate poses, if you do your practice consistently, that level, that ability level, maintaining that ability level will do you so much good and achieve the goals that you want, unless you want to, compete in the Olympics and maybe you need to do the master ones. So let us begin with the basic seated pose. So this is the classic asana. This is what they're talking about, seated within oneself, that the yogi would do. And it's considered a seated pose, obviously, and a restorative pose. And then what we'll do is our breathing techniques using the Ujjayi. But when you're seated, just kind of think of your alignment of your spine and the back of your neck, having that nice and long and opening up, like how I start, opening up your chest and your diaphragm so you have the best optimum advantage of taking in your breath. So let's do that, and we'll incorporate the Ujjayi breath while we're doing our sun breath. So bringing our fingertips to the mat, we'll lift them up overhead with a big inhale, and then the Ujjayi inhales through your nose, hearing that sound in the back of your throat. And then once your hands are overhead, we're going to bring the hands down to chest level on the exhale, hearing that Darth Vader sound. Inhale, open. Exhale, close. Inhale, up. And exhale, down. And when you're doing the Ujjayi breath, and we'll just continue our flow here, up. When you're doing the Ujjayi breath, you want to hear the sound of the flow. So if it's shallow, you need to make a little bit of adjustment in your pose. You want the optimum amount of breath coming in and out. And then opening up on the inhale. And exhale, closing. Inhale up. And exhale down. And you can kind of see how it slows the breathing pattern down too. One last time, inhale up. Exhale down. Inhale, open. Exhale, close. Inhale up. And exhale down. And as we go on today's practice, I'm just going to guide us into the pose and then just kind of explain what focus that pose has. So if you're looking for poses that are more flexible, or if you're looking for poses that are gain more strength or more balance, I'll kind of label them as such. And this is based also on the Yoga Studio app. So we're going to do some twists and flows. So inhale up again, bringing your hands up overhead, and then twisting the torso over to the left, bringing your hands down, right hand on your knee, left hand behind your hips. Sending your gaze straight out, and then bringing your hands back up again, swinging back to center, and then over to the right. Hands come down, left hand on the right knee, right hand behind your hips, sending your gaze directly to the right. And this anything it seems like, we'll kind of do this flow. Sorry. We'll just kind of keep the flow going, and then I'll chit chat over to the left. So anything that involves twisting your spine, that seems to have been labeled flexibility. Kind of twisting your spine, kind of having movement along your spine, and we'll see. And I'll pause and have you kind of guess as we go along what focus the pose has. And then down. And then one last time, all the way up, inhaling, coming to center, and then twisting to the right, coming down, and then landing. And then back to center. We're going to I'm going to send my right leg out straight, and then keep the left leg kind of tucked to my thigh, or foot tucked to my thigh. And then bring my right hand, the back of my right hand, to the inner part of my knee. And then lift my left arm up along my ear. And we're going to slide down toward the foot. And then once we reach that, we'll twist, bringing our hands, both hands toward the foot. And then coming back up again. Kind of slide the hands along your leg if you like. Actually, let's do that one more time. So back of the hand goes against the knee. Left arm comes up. We'll slide the right hand toward the toes. And then twisting, sending both hands toward the foot. And then sliding the hands back up. So again, we're twisting that spine. So this is considered a flexibility pose. So let's switch sides, extend our left leg out, bring the right foot to our left thigh. Flex the toes up, make the leg active. We'll bring the left hand to the inner part of the left leg, and then send our right arm up along our ear, and then slide our right hand down toward our foot. And then turn, bringing both hands toward our foot. And this side, it's always a little shorter for me, a little stiffer. And then bring the hands back along the leg to an upright position. We'll do that one more time. Back of the left hand against the left inner leg. Right hand goes up, sliding the left hand toward the foot. Arcing our spine down, kind of twisting it down, and then twisting it toward our foot, sending both hands toward the foot, and then sliding the hands back up the leg. Flexibility. So now we're going to go on our back. So extend both legs out. Let me get my mat. Extend both legs out and slowly roll down. So we connect with the mat one vertebra at a time. And come into a sunny spot. We'll go down a little further. And we'll come into reclined balance pose. So we normally do this reclined mountain pose rather. We kind of gave it away already. Mountain pose we usually do standing up, and it is a balance pose. And you may be wondering, why is it balance if we're laying on our back? But kind of think of balance in a couple different ways. One is that you are stacking your torso straight up above one another. So your hips are, your chest is stacked above your hips and your head stacked above your chest. So you kind of balance out the length of your spine with the other parts of your body. So you're kind of standing with your weight equally distributed and you're balanced that way. It's not like balancing on one foot, but you're just kind of balanced in that your distribution throughout your body is stacking one on top of the other. So with a reclined mountain, you want to, have your spine, the back of your neck, kind of guiding down toward the mat, and your legs are nice and straight. So everything's kind of stacked one on top of the other. And then we'll slide the inner part of our right foot up our left leg to the point where it reaches the knee, creating a figure four, bringing the right foot on top of the left leg, just above the left knee. And then we'll send both legs up into the air for reclined pigeon pose. And then we'll go behind our left thigh, interlacing our hands, and slowly guide that left leg toward our chest. And one that we haven't discussed yet is strength. And strength is, you think of strength in your legs and you think of strength in your arms, which is true. But there's also a lot of the poses revolve around core strength. And the strength of your core, there's a lot of focus these days on gut health, and a lot of powerful things happen in that abdomen area. Core strength is one of them that really helps you through your life. If I could advocate any of the three, I would say the strength, especially the core strength, might be super important as we get older. So put the left foot down on the mat, sliding it down toward the end of the mat, keeping our right foot on our left leg. And then we'll take and guide that right knee over to the left side of the mat. And you may feel your spine kind of twisting over to the left. So this is a flexibility. Spinal twist is a flexibility pose. And then we'll slide the right foot all the way down to the end of the mat. We'll do that on the other side. So sliding the left foot up the inner part of the right leg to the point where it hits the knee. And then raising the left foot, placing it on the right leg, right above the knee. And then lifting both legs up, pointing the toes to the sky. Interlace your fingers behind your right thigh and slowly guide that leg toward your chest. And then we'll put the right foot down on the mat, sliding it to the bottom of the mat. Then guide the left knee over to the right side with a little bit of spinal twist going on. Shoulder blades are nice and snug in the mat, so you can really feel that twist in your spine. And that's flexibility. And then we'll send that leg back to the mat and bring both knees to the chest. We're to interlace our hands and give the knees a nice hug. You can kind of feel that nice massage going on with the back of your lower back and the spine. And then we'll come up to tabletop. So you can either roll over to your side, or if you like, you can tuck your hands underneath your knees and just kind of guide yourself back up. And that will become easier and easier and easier as your core strength grows stronger and stronger. So let's come into a tabletop. And the hands are spread, fingers are spread wide apart. Wrists are right below your shoulders. Knees are right below your hips. Navel's tucked to the spine. So we're again back to a balance pose, and the balance being, we're not balancing on one hand or on one foot or any of that, but everything is just kind of balanced. You have that even distribution of weight in your hands, in your knees. The right side's not leaning one way, the left side's not leaning. Everything's just kind of balanced in its space. So we'll take our nose and then take our nose over to the right, just kind of sending our gaze to the right. We'll do a few neck exercises here, bringing nose back to the mat and then sending it over to the left. And then back again. We'll do that a few more times, sending it gently over to the right, nice even flow. And sending it back to center, and over to the left. And then back to center again, all the way over to the right. And then back to center again, and all the way over to the left. We'll come back to center, and then the next one we'll do some cat-cows. So we're going to exhale, rounding our back, stretching out that spine. That things that involve the spine, poses that involve the spine, typically are flexibility poses. So we're going to send our gaze up in cow, and then rounding our back again on the exhale, dropping our head and tailbone down, really stretching out the spine. And then lifting the head and tailbone up, sending the gaze straight ahead for cow. We'll do a few more of these, activating our Ujjai Breath. And just go at your own pace for a few minutes. Just gain that flexibility in our spine. And then we'll do one last time and come back, tabletop. And then bird dogs, we've done these before, bringing the knees together so that they're touching. Our weight is still distributed in our hands, so that's balance. However, when we send our right leg up and send our left arm up, that activates our core. So this actually turns into a strength pose. So we're going to leave the arm and leg up, and point the toe on the inhale, and flex the toe down toward the mat on the exhale. So point, inhale, flex, exhale, 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 point, inhale, flex, exhale. And bring both down. And we'll switch sides, lifting the left leg up to hip height Again, having that equal weight of distribution in our hands, and then lifting the right arm. Point inhale, flex exhale, 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 and bring both down. And maybe you feel that in your core there. And then we're going to kickstand our left foot out, send our right foot down to the bottom of the mat. Left wrist is right below the left shoulder. And we'll do a modified plank. And anytime you're talking about planks, that's core strength. So this will be a strength pose. Though I'm not really feeling it that much when I sweep my hand up. So inhale, sweeping your right hand up to the sky. But I do feel it if I bring my right leg up. And then send both back down. So you have the option of lifting your leg or not. We'll sweep the hand 2 more times, and you can join that sweep with your leg if you'd like. And then bring the hand back down. And one last time, sweeping the hand up, lifting the leg up, and then bringing both hand and foot back down. We'll do that on the other side. So come back to tabletop. Kick your right foot out side of the mat, sending your left leg down to the bottom of the mat. Right wrist is right below the shoulder. We'll sweep the left hand up to the sky, lifting the left leg up if you want, and then back down. And then sweeping up again. And then back down. And one last time, sweeping up. You feel that in your core, and then back down. And the glutes, the muscles in your butt all have tie into the core strength as well. So we'll come back to tabletop, tuck our toes under, walk our hands back, come into a squat, push down, come up to mountain pose. And mountain pose, as I mentioned, is a balance pose. And that meaning you're kind of bringing all your torso and your legs all in one nice balanced straight line. We're going to lift our toes up off the mat and then bring them down, lifting our heels off the mat and bringing the heels back down, really feeling grounded in the mat. And with mountain pose, there's the essentials of good posture. So your legs are nice and straight and strong. Flexibility in your knees. Navel's tucked to the spine. Shoulders are relaxed and rolled back. Crown of your head reaches up to the sky. I was thinking this morning about mountain pose, and as you get older, you know, they warn you about keeping, vitals so that it prevents falls. But I was thinking, like, the mountain pose, the better your posture is, it might aid in preventing falls. Because as we get older, we kind of hunch forward, and you're off balance basically. So keeping that balance in, thinking of mountain pose, that balance element in mountain pose, and having all those elements of your body balanced on top of one another. So sweeping our hands up overhead, inhaling as we go, exhale, bringing our hands down to the mat, bending our knees as we go, protect our lower back, and then sending our hands to our shins, nice flat back, gaze going down, and then sending the crown of our head down toward the mat. And this is a flexibility pose. It's involving the spine, but in the lower part of the spine column. There we go. And we'll sweep our hands all the way up overhead. And as we bring the hands up over our head, we're going to come up onto our tippy toes. And this is what we traditionally think of balance, being able to balance on our feet. But this actually, and then bring our hands down and our heels down. I'm going to convert this pose to a strength of our feet pose. And then sweeping our hands up again, bringing them up overhead. And as we do, lifting up onto our tippy toes, coming back up. And then slowly lowering our hands down, and with control, lowering our heels back down to the mat. And one last time, bringing our hands up overhead, coming up onto our tippy toes. And then bringing our hands down all the way to the mat as we bring our heels down as well. Bringing our hands all the way down to the mat, bending our knees as we go. Hands come to our shins. Spine is nice and straight and long. And then our gaze is set straight down. Crown of our head then drops down toward the mat. And then sweeping our hands up overhead. Palms come together. And then supported side stretches. Our right hand comes down to our right thigh, sliding it down toward our knee and creating that nice crescent shape. So that is a flexibility because you're twisting your spine into a nice crescent shape. And then lifting our hands back up overhead, dropping the left hand down to the left thigh, sliding it down toward our knee, tipping over toward the left. Feel that curve in your spine, twist in your spine. That's the flexibility. Back up. Right hand comes down again. One last time on the right side, sliding your hand down. And then back up again. And then the left hand comes down, sliding that back toward your knee. And then coming back up. And we'll bring both hands back down to the mat, bending our knees as we go. Inhale, bringing our hands to our shins. Nice flat back, gaze straight down. And then sending the crown of our head down toward the mat. And sweeping our hands all the way up overhead. And we'll come into chair pose. So for your arms, you can have an up or a diagonal or straight ahead. Whatever works comfortably for you. Our feet are hip width apart. We're going to bend our knees and send our hips down toward our ankles, tucking our navel to our spine. We're going to bend our knees, still being able to see our toes. And this is a strength pose because it's a real good pose for your core strength. And then back up again. We'll do that two more times. So arms wherever you prefer. Bending the knees, dropping the hips down toward the ankles. Keeping the gaze so that you can see your big toes, tucking the navel to the spine. And then one last time, back up. And then one last time into chair pose. Really feeling that workout on your core. And that will be able to keep you in chair pose for quite some time. as well as your legs. And then one last time, bringing our hands down to the mat, bending our knees as we go. And inhale, lifting our hands to our shins, nice flat back, gaze goes straight down. And then the crown of the head goes down toward the mat, forward fold. And sweeping our hands all the way up overhead. Palms come together. Palms come to heart center. And palms come to the back of the hips. And our feet are going to be about hip width apart. Hands on the back of the hips, fingertips pointing down. Then we're going to gently roll our shoulders back and then lean into that, keeping our chin tucked toward our chest. And that would be a flexibility move. Feel that in your core. Feel that in your spine. And then coming back straight up. All right, moving down. Before I reveal what focus this is, see if you can figure it out yourself. Kind of jump ahead of me. So back to mountain, balance. Then we're sweep our hands up overhead, bringing our hands down to the mat. Forward fold, knees bending all the way. Then I'm going to send both feet back, coming into plank. So our wrists are right below our shoulders. Heels are pushing to the back of the mat. Navel's tucked to the spine, elevating our hips slightly. And you think the focus is? It would be strength. You can really feel it in the core. As I mentioned earlier, anything that's a plank works on your core strength. So coming down to the mat, knees, chest, chin would be adding a flexibility component to it, or chaturanga. Coming down would add a strength component to it. And by the way, the chaturanga is considered an advanced pose. Everything else we're doing is beginner and intermediate, but that chaturanga, if you're doing it right, it's an advanced pose. So with our hands below our shoulders, we'll lift our chin and chest up, gently pressing into our hands, coming into cobra. So cobra is following the spine, so it's a flexibility pose. And then we'll push all the way up, and then bring our heels down, coming into child's pose. And this is often considered a restorative pose. You'll often be in a yoga class and they say if you are getting a little overworked, just come and rest in child pose. So it's a nice balance. You don't have to go 100% full gun all the way through your class. Take moments of rest and let the nutrients of what you've already done kind of soak in, and then go on. Then come back up. And actually the intermittent training technique now is getting a lot of press. So you go full steam and then you rest. You go full steam and then you rest. So that it's kind of like what we do in yoga anyway. Alrighty, so we're back. kind of lost my place, sorry. So tucking your toes under, lifting your hips up, coming into downward dog. We'll pedal out the dog here for a few moments. Your hands, fingers are spread wide apart. Arms are nice and straight and strong. Chest is reaching toward your thighs. And my head is below my heart. So this makes this pose, or that makes this pose, an inversion pose. So we'll walk the feet slowly up to our hands, coming into forward fold. And then sweep our hands all the way up overhead. Palms come together. And then we're gonna send our right foot back and come into a wide-legged stance. Arms are out. And this is a balance pose where everything's nicely stacked. Spine is straight. Arms are equal distance apart. Legs are equal distance apart. And then we'll flip both feet over to the left. And then bend the left knee, coming into warrior two. And warrior two is considered a strength pose. Your spine's not, well, if your chest is facing the long edge of the mat, your spine is a little twisted, but not too bad. As opposed to the warrior one, the spine gets twisted a little bit more there, and that is considered a flexibility pose, warrior one. But this one's a strength. So ideally, you're working on your core strength here, your leg strength, your arm strength. And then we'll send our gaze to our left fingertips. Drop our right hand back, lifting our left fingertips up to the sky. And that again works on our core. So it's a strength pose. And then bringing the left arm down to the left thigh, sending our right hand up to the sky. This is twisting our spine a little bit, so it's a flexibility. And you can send your left fingertips down to the mat, and you can then really feel that twist in your spine. And we'll come back up to warrior two. We'll straighten the front leg out and send the left fingers forward and then send them down to your left leg, sliding it all the way down to your right foot, your left foot, sending your right hand up to the sky. And this one, have you guess what it is? The focus of this. There's a lot of stuff going on here. Then we'll come back up to warrior two. And that triangle pose that we were just in is considered by the yoga app that I have a strength move. But you can see we had, oh, actually, no, I'm sorry. It's considered a balance move. But it had a lot of core strength, had a lot of flexibility of the spine, had a lot going on. But they considered it a balance. So I guess, in order for it to work for you, you have to have all your ducks in a row, if you will, so you're not tipping over. All righty. So we'll bring both hands toward the front of the mat, pivoting our back foot, bringing our hands down to runner's lunge, bringing our right foot to our left foot, And then sweeping our hands all the way up overhead. Palms come together, palms come to heart center. And we'll do that again on the other side. So sweeping our hands up and then bringing them down to the mat, bending our knees. Send both feet back for plank. Plank strength. And then knees, chest, chin, which is flexibility component added, or chaturanga, adding that advanced pose for strength. And then coming into cobra, lifting our chin and chest up, feeling that curve of the spine is a flexibility pose. And then up to our knees, tabletop, and then down to child's pose for restorative pose. And then back up to tabletop. We'll tuck our toes under, lifting the hips up to downward dog, coming into that inversion pose. Again, inversions are good, clearing out lymphatic system. But you do have to be careful if you have high blood pressure for any inversion pose. And then we'll slowly walk our feet up to our hands, coming into forward fold. Then sweeping our hands all the way up overhead. Palms come together. And then again, we're gonna open up to the side of the mat, coming into wide-legged stance. Nice balanced pose. And then we're gonna turn our feet to the right this time. Bend our right knee, so the knee's right over the ankle. Back foot. Edge is nice and snug. Chest is open to the long side of the mat. We'll bring our focus to our fingertips. Feel the strength. And if you don't have your navel tucked to your spine, try tucking that in. If you can feel that core strength activating. And then lifting the fingertips up to the sky, the other hand goes down. You can really feel that in the core. And then bring the right hand down. You can rest your right forearm on your right thigh, or send your right fingertips all the way down to the mat, sending your left arm, left hand straight up into the sky. Feel flexibility in your spine there. And then back up to downward dog. We'll straighten our right leg out. Send our fingertips forward and then down. Sending your right hand down toward the mat. Left fingertips up to the sky. And this is the one that's considered a balance pose. But I think of it as everything's going on here. And then back up to downward dog. Up to warrior two. And then sending both hands to the top of the mat, bringing them down to the mat, pivoting on the back foot, coming into runner's lunge. And then bringing the left foot to the right foot, forward fold. And then sweeping our hands all the way up overhead. Palms come together, palms come to heart center. Then we'll send our little pinky toes out to the edge. Heels are tucked in about 45 degrees. Palms at heart center. We'll lower our hips toward the mat. Coming down slowly. You feel that your spine is straight. Your balance is probably stacked well. But what you may feel most of all is your core activating. So that's the strength pose. And then bring your glutes down to the mat, into staff pose. Toes are flexed up to the sky. And push down into the mat and lift your hips up and settle them down. Really feel that nice L shape. And that you'll feel if you're in a nice strong L shape, right angle, you'll feel that in your core. So staff pose is actually a strength pose. And then we'll take our right foot, place it on the outer side of our left leg, wrapping our left arm around our right knee, sending our right fingertips in back of us, sending our chest to the long side of the mat. And that would be a flexibility pose as your spine is nicely twisted. And then we'll come back to staff pose and do that on the other side. So the left foot comes out on the outside of the right leg, right where your knee is, wrapping your right arm around your left leg, left fingertips behind your hips, twisting your torso to the long side of the mat. And then we'll come back to center and we'll slowly lower down on the mat, one vertebra at a time, keeping our legs extended out in front of us. And once you've landed, you can bring your knees to your chest, give them a nice hug, maybe rock back and forth, give your lower spine a nice massage. And then we'll place our feet on the mat. And this you may want to adjust as we go along. But if the closer your heels are toward your hips, and we're going to extend our legs at a 45-degree angle, the closer your heels are to your hips, you'll feel it in your core. But if you want a little bit more of a challenge, slide your feet down toward the end of the mat a little bit more, so your knees are lowered, and then send them up at that 45-degree angle. So your choice, you can kind of play with it, see what works for you. But we're going to have our feet on the mat and then send them up 45 degrees, bring them back down to the mat, and then we'll do a series of 10 here. So it's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then bring the knees back to the chest. You rock back and forth. And you can feel that in your core, so that was clearly a strength move. We'll do that one more time. You can adjust as needed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Bring your knees back. Give them a nice hug. Then send the arms out at shoulder height, dropping the knees to the right and sending our gaze to our left fingertips. And as you can feel your spines at a nice gentle twist, so it's a flexibility move. Then bring your head back to center, bring your knees back to center, and then drop them over to the left side. Sending your gaze over to your right fingertips. Shoulders are nice, relaxed into the mat. Bring your head back to center and bring your knees back to center. And send your feet down to the bottom of the mat, preparing for Shavasana. Shavasana is like the most important pose of a yoga class. It's restorative, so it's restoring. I think of it, I've said this several times before, hope that I don't offend any vegetarians, but when you're cooking proteins, they like turkey or beef, any meats that you roast, they tell you to have a resting period so that all the juices kind of go back to the meat itself. And that's kind of what I think of when I think of Shavasana. It's like that time where all the juices kind of go back into the place and restore yourself. So relax in your restorative pose. And I have a new poem for you today. And I have found Dana Fauld's website. All these years I've been reciting her poems. She actually has a website where she posts new poems almost every Wednesday. And this one I think was from the 17th of September. The title is The Turn Toward Fall by Dana Fauld's. Only when the warm season wraps itself in golden leaves does I'm going to start all again. Only when the warm season wraps itself in golden leaves does something in me wake up. I'm not saying that I sleep through summer, but hope and curiosity rise with the turn toward fall. Possibility shines when the cricket chorus reaches its crescendo. It feels important to catch this wave of energy and ride it into the unknown. Something beacons just beyond my senses, or something beckons just beyond my senses. Is it the love field reminding me that love is near and always stronger than my fear? Is it creatively inviting me to stretch my wings and fly? Is it the mystery with its whispered truth urging me to trust? I just know that when the summer haze retreats and the Milky Way glows like a river of light each night, that's when I'm most alive. As the songbirds migrate south, I welcome my whole self inside an open heart. The scent of fallen walnuts leads me straight to wonder, and wonder points toward yes. Autumn is a blessing, an affirmation, a time to harvest the best which I am capable while letting the mystery take care of the rest.